Hello, everyone. I'm happy you're tuning in at X-Rays, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. Today, we're diving into something every business talks about, but not everyone truly understands: quality. And we're also celebrating another milestone with our guest who's been part of this journey with us time and time again. And every conversation feels like we're peeling back another layer of how organizations really work. With over 4 decades of global experience, he's been at the forefront of helping organizations move beyond just ticking boxes to actually building sustained success through people, systems, and continuous improvement. He's the managing director and CEO of ACI Global and e-Quip. Please welcome back Ian Erskine. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Miles, and happy Easter. We've been speaking, and I know you had a lovely Easter. And to all our viewers, happy Easter, and it was a truly wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Well, I hope everyone had a very peaceful and meaningful Easter to Ian. 75 episodes in. There's
Yes,
indeed
75.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's indeed a lot of important things to talk about, especially this one that sounds simple on the surface, but gets deep pretty quickly. The quality of an organization and how that connects to sustained success. So let's jump straight in. When we talk about the quality of an organization, especially through the lens of ISO 9004 2018, what does that actually look like in real terms today, Ian? And how is it different from the traditional idea of total quality management or TQM that many businesses still think they're doing?
Yeah, think. Well, again, it's a great question, and this is critical. All people, employees, must be engaged, and we've spoken about it many, many, many times about the engagement of people. Systems don't work by themselves, they don't work in a vacuum. And people really are key to this TQM journey. And it is also, that journey is also very important for people to understand that journey is enabling them to become high achievers. And becoming high achievers assist the organisation to achieve sustained success. And probably even so more important today in such a troubled times that we're having is that success has to be maintained in troubling times. So you've got to be able to support your people, your employees, in whatever way you do, right? But they are employees and even the businesses themselves are hurting. And so this is why it is absolutely critical that the organisation works together with all their people, and this way they keep their objectives and their targets being met. And this is where we talk about equipping the workforce and the workplace, because it's fine equipping and training your employees, but your employees must have a workplace where they can demonstrate and fulfill the objectives and the targets, fulfill their goals and their personal aims,
Uh-huh.
because it's a little known fact, but every single one of us want to be high performers and want to be looked upon and rewarded and thanked for that work we're doing.
Mhm.
And this is where merit comes in. And it's just oh so important. And, as we've already talked about over many, many podcasts, as you said, milestone today, 75.
Yeah.
And all this leads to the certification outcome for both people and their organisations.
Mm-hmm. And I guess before this episode, Ian, there's a lot of people still think TQM is just a checklist or a department, when really it sounds like what you're saying is it's really about people and more of a culture, right? Something that runs through the entire organization, not just seats on paper. And that leads perfectly into something I see a lot, especially from a sales and marketing perspective. Organizations aim for the ISO certification itself. It's almost like the finish line. But Ian, how do you shift that mindset towards sustained success where quality becomes something lived daily rather than just something audited for compliance through conformance?
Well, as I just mentioned previously, systems don't work in a vacuum. They only work They only work when people are involved and the focus is firmly on people. And again, this is one that we will be doing possibly next week or the week after, where we're actually going to be looking at process and how processes need to be constantly looked at, constantly reviewed. And in doing that, it brings the focus back to people because the process will not work effectively unless people are fully engaged, right?
Mhm.
And when we talk about engagement, that's where we talk about the two standards, ISO 10015 or 10018. People must understand the quality acronym, do it once, do it right.
Yes.
And this is where it is oh so important that the engagement's there and people not only are rewarded, but they're encouraged to become high achievers.
Yeah.
And this is what quality is all about. And
Mhm.
it then becomes second nature because, as I said, it's second nature to us to want to do the job well. And I often think of myself after I mow the lawn, I look back and I check, and sometimes I get a little annoyed about myself. Oh, look, there's a leaf still left on the lawn. So I go and pick the leaf up and put it in the garden or mulch it up in my hands. But that's in all of us because we should and we should be encouraged to take pride in what we do. And this is what this standard basically is all about. It talks about the true meaning of quality and sustained success, right? It
Mhm.
talks about people involvement. Again, you won't achieve quality unless people are involved and engaged. And again, this enables an organisation to constantly use their objectives and targets to marry up with all their people's personal KPIs, their objectives and targets, and combined, it's like, as I said, mentioned, and you and I have mentioned many times, the rowboat. You all have to be rowing at the same pace
Yeah.
vigorously. And look, we're all competitive. And you know, if our major competitors started to get ahead of us, we have to row a bit harder, think a bit more cleverer, so that we get back in front of them and continue to row strongly.
Uh-huh. And that's an important shift, especially becoming a high performer to becoming a high achiever that leads to merit. And naturally, that brings us to what you've always emphasized again, people. Because at the end of the day, systems don't improve themselves, people do. So, how do tools like ACI Global's Professional Development Review or PDR, 360-degree profile, and ISO personal certification help organizations move from box ticking to real people engagement? As you said, also people development and ultimately future ready leadership.
Well, this is an interesting one because I hear lots of people saying that, he's a true leader, he's born a leader, and things like that, where we firmly believe leadership can be learnt and developed. And it takes a focus of motivation, deliberate practice, and support from the organisation that is supporting their people. And again, this is why it is so important that there is a people focus because, again, leaders need to be challenged within their roles, within each of their teams. They need to be challenged to bring out the best, not only in themselves, but more importantly, in their teams.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, we've already spoken about it. We talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And again, it's a very important facet of leadership is that what you need to work on within a team is each and everyone's weaknesses, not their strengths, because their
Mm-hmm.
strengths will actually get stronger as you lessen their weaknesses and work on their weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is where PDR really comes into its own because it is challenging people at all times to be doing their best. And that's part of the challenge is when they sit down and do their reviews with their senior managers and things like that, the challenge is when they are asked a question, they address that. But then often there is a challenge back to the person that is asking the question. That could be the managing director or the supervisor. The person that's being interviewed, the employee, must have that ability to be able to ask his senior leader or supervisor questions in their performance as well. And, because often there were occasions where I was challenged and I would quite often have to apologise and say, look, there's just been a few things that been troubling me at the moment. And, quite often they would rouse on me, well, let us know, Ian, because we're here to help as well. And I think that's one of the things with leaders, and I do it myself. You get yourself very motivated to do a certain job, and there's quite often you get overwhelmed in trying to do it all yourself. Well,
Mhm.
that's really is something you've got to stop yourself and say, hang on, I have a team, bring the team in, we can all do it better together rather than one person trying to do it. And
Of course.
that's
Yeah.
where the PDR review software comes into its own because it's always reviewing, and those reviews are going up to ensure they match not only the organisation's objectives and targets, but they're matching their own people's KPPIs as well. And that's something that comes within all our software packages, the PDR software.
Mhm.
And again, that works on a 360-degree profile from the person that's doing the reviewing
Mhm.
to the person that is being reviewed. It's a two-way process
Yeah.
to bring the best out of everyone.
Everything is tied together and organized. And when organizations focus on people, when people feel invested in, they show up differently. It's no longer just a job. It becomes something they actually want to improve and be actually part of once you've got the people aligned. The next question is, how do you scale that? Because consistency across teams and departments is where things usually break down. So, Ian, how does technology, especially platforms like ISO, equipped quality TQM software, help in accelerating continuous improvement and making continuous professional development or CPD more practical and measurable across the workforce and workplace?
Well, this makes our software very and so unique because the organisation themselves, within each of the software packages, they allocate a person to be not solely, but very much responsible to drive the TQM process within the organisation.
Mhm.
And they themselves develop the little review tasks and skills courses for each of the personnel because again, a little known fact, people's skills, tasks for jobs and things like that change over time. Different jobs
Mhm.
require different skills. So
Right.
the task levels and performance will change. And
Mhm.
this is where it is so important to have that person within the organisation responsible. So it's not the consultant or the person that put the software